Star Wars has always been what its name suggests: wars amongst the stars in a galaxy far away from here. Throughout its timeline, there are many conflicts that take place across the entirety of the galaxy we covered so far in this series. However, when it comes to conflicts and settings, there's always a first and last. The very first conflict in this galaxy took place on a world that surface was mostly covered in oceans. We're going back 200,000 years before the Battle of Yavin to the planet of Notron in the core worlds to see what this very first conflict was: the Zhell-Taung War. Before we get into the war itself, we should know who these groups are and why. The Zhell are a race of bipedal sentient beings. Records suggest the Zhell are native to Notron, making it their place of origin. That being said, the species is noted by others for being naturally learning and extremely adaptable. The Zhell would also create societies and transform quickly to their surroundings as needed. Although average in size and not particularly strong when compared to other species, they did possess at times an indomitable spirit that could push them to overcome challenges that normally they couldn't have otherwise. The Zhell spread out across Notron and created 13 nations amongst themselves. A city named Great Zhell would be built high up on a mountain. Having been named after all 13 nations, Great Zhell would be the capital city of the Zhell. A second native species to Notron would also begin to rise: the Taung. The Taung are a race of bipedal, humanoid, sentient sapien, gray-skinned, and yellow-eyed individuals. A typical Taung would be 2 meters tall and extremely resilient, able to endure damage other species could not. They are nomadic people steeped in warrior culture, finding honor in battle to appease their gods. Battle-tested warriors would become chieftains who lead each clan and the community around it. As a race centered around combat, war itself became a way to worship their god, Kad Ha'rangir. This deity is known as the Destroyer God, a vigorous bringer of change and growth to the universe. The Taung waged war to also stave off the temptations of Arasuum, a personification of stagnation and idle consumption. The Taung believed that Kad Ha'rangir and Arasuum waged an eternal war against one another. This religious view of life would help push them into battle and keep them from falling into stagnation as their race grew. The Taung place high value in martial arts, believing hand-to-hand combat brings the most honor to them when victorious. This was continuously passed on to the next generation, as Taung children are trained at a young age. The mindset of continually testing oneself from childhood through to adulthood is what made the Taung so formidable. Despite being a warrior culture, the Taung are far from primitive. They maintained a high priority of acquiring technology wherever possible, mainly from defeated foes. But their greatest challenge would soon be upon them: a war for their world. Eventually, Notron was no longer big enough for both races. Whether it was the Zhell's continuous expansion or the Taung's lust for battle that instigated the war, we don't know for certain. But the Zhell-Taung War commenced. The Zhell nations formed the Battalions of Zhell as its military to fight against the clan warriors of the Taung. The conflict would see skirmishes between the two races for centuries, with neither side gaining a decisive hand over the other. Eventually, a Taung general would rise up and make significant gains in the war. This Taung general, nicknamed the Doom of Ulmarra, would lead a direct assault on the city of Great Zhell. The Taung would take the capital city, but took heavy losses in the process, the Doom of Ulmarra among them. The Zhell would not take the defeat lightly and quickly organized a siege of the city to take it back. The Taung, now under the command of Raksudu the Unconquerable, prepared to make a final stand. It was at this point of the battle the mountain Great Zhell was built upon revealed its true nature. The mountain was actually a dormant volcano and erupted, bringing devastation upon the Zhell. A thick cloud of smoke and ash clouded the sky, covering the land in darkness. The Taung seized the opportunity and defeated the Zhell forces. In the aftermath of the battle, the Taung took the eruption as a sign of their destiny and the title Warriors of Shadow as the smoke cloud persisted over the land for 2 years. The Zhell were conquered, but the Taung victory would be short-lived as the Zhell came back and drove the Taung off Notron. The Taung were defeated, and when faced with annihilation, they fled from their world, leaving it in Zhell control. The Zhell would consolidate control of the planet and evolve into humans, and the planet of Notron would come to be known as Coruscant. Although many disagreements would be had among academics about how the Taung traveled so early in the galactic timeline as 200,000 BBY, due to hyperspace travel not being invented yet. Nothing concrete would be determined otherwise, and the Zhell-Taung War would remain where it was placed in galactic history. So, the Taung would travel the stars until they arrived on the outer rim world of Roon. Roon itself was surrounded by a lethal ring of asteroids and meteors, but it was a terrestrial world covered in oceans, mountains, and plains with a temperate climate. The Taungs would continue living their nomadic warrior lifestyle in their new world and remain there for a very long time. This has been Tarc of Crimson Command Gaming, bringing you the 3rd installment in a continuing series of lore videos. Thank you for watching, and I hope you tune in for the next video.